Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women to discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey.
Hello, everyone. It's Kari and Jenn here. We are back for season 4 of the podcast. I was just thinking about all the different seasons and the different times that we each were in our own journeys. And I don't know, it just made me kind of nostalgic to think that we're coming back for season 4. We hope that you had a good break. We hope that you've just enjoyed what we've put out. We really are always prayerful about what God wants us to say, what you need to hear as listeners. So we're just thankful that you're here with us, that you're listening in. We have a good topic today, don't you think, Jenn?
Yeah, awesome topic.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about overwhelm and just really trying to help you to understand it more in a way of what's really going on in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, your soul, because that all matters, right? They all go together. And so we hope to give you a better picture of that, because what's the number one thing we hear?
Well, yeah, most women, including myself.
Yeah. We all have been there, or you might currently be there. You might live in overwhelm, right? I mean,
I think for us women in this day and age, it's really easy because we work outside the home and inside the home, a lot of us, and we're juggling a lot. And, also spiritually, right? Like, we are the nurturers of our family. I think, in a lot of ways, while our husbands might be the head of the household, I feel like sometimes spiritually we defend, the household on our knees. And so there's a lot going on. And if we don't constantly look at, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual aspects and nurture each aspect, it's really easy to get to overwhelm, which is what we see in the world.
Yeah. We see a lot in the people that, come to us within our practice, and just, they're just overwhelmed probably with their physical health, right? Maybe they've just researched a lot, or they're just really, I don't know, maybe they've tried a bunch of different things. But I hope that you'll see in our conversation today that honestly, overwhelm starts at a soul level, because it really goes back to, what are we not giving over to God that we should, right? We can't do anything in our strength. So a lot of times, what do we try to do? We're fixers. We're doers. I'm the first one to admit that's me. So yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be really good, because who hasn't felt overwhelmed in the last week, month, day, hour?
Yes,
so
right. This is a poignant podcast coming off the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does overwhelm actually mean? I think emotionally we can define it, right? Like what it feels like. But overwhelm is something that is triggered when the load on the system is bigger than our capacity. And so a lot of people think, oh, I just can't handle stress, or, oh, I'm just too sensitive, or I'm not good at coping with stress. That's not the case. Really, it's a capacity issue, not a character flaw. It's, a lot of times can be you're under supported. Not that that's a blaming, like, I don't have the support I need, more of maybe you are self sufficient and you don't ask for the help that you need emotionally, physically, whatever. Or it could be that you've been operating in overload for a really long time and your body's no longer, mind, body, and spirit is no longer able to cope.
Yeah.
And so this isn't, um, when people think of overwhelm, they think of, oh, okay, the people who have it all together, or maybe quote unquote look like they have it all together, like that's what I want. When in
Mm.
actuality, right, like that's a process that we need to be conscious of daily, right? I think a lot of those people who are really grounded have really good habits and routines to start, but also they don't do it by themselves.
Yeah. True. I totally agree. Self-sufficiency is a just number one in my book that God has showed me is what really does overwhelm us, and it's like a trickle down effect. So, let's kind of start at the other side with kind of the body side, the physical side of overwhelm, because I mean that's where we notice it first a lot of times, especially maybe when it's like God hasn't revealed all that to us yet, or a lot of us are just so distracted that that's
Yeah.
how He gets our attention, right?
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Like
So
literally, you find yourself scrolling. You're like, how did I even get here?
I know, I'm so over that. I'm just saying,
Same.
2026, I'm leaving that behind in 2025. Like, I think that's my thing. Like, we were talking about the whole broken cisterns thing. Like, what is not serving you anymore? I really think it's that. So, anyway,
Yes. Amen.
if you're with me, if you understand that.
I
I think
understand.
it gets all of us. It's just such a human thing to do. We wanna
I'm
escape.
out.
Well,
Right.
right, I'm out. I'm tired. I'm whatever, but what we actually need is the complete opposite of that.
Right. Right.
Um, but okay, let's talk about a little bit of the physical side of overwhelm. Really, all of these things truly that we're going to speak about, they really go back a lot of times to the nervous system. And we've talked about the nervous system a good bit, mainly in season 3. I think we kind of started to really incorporate that in a lot of those episodes. So you may or may not be familiar with it. The nervous system, really quickly, is just kind of the what governs a lot of the processes in your body, your breathing, your organ function, things like that. And it has 2 different sides. The part that we're gonna be talking about, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Fight or flight, you might have heard of that, rest and digest. Whenever our system is overloaded, there's so many things that are telling our body that we're not safe that it just stays on, right? Our body stays in protection mode. It stays kind of turned on and ready to go, and that has such a long-term effect, right? It has such a ripple effect on we're gonna talk about a few of the most common, but, we really have difficulty concentrating, we have fatigue, we have, burnout over time because, our body wasn't meant to hold on to that much stuff for that long. And so I wanted to kind of just frame it almost as all of these things that we're gonna talk about really go back to the nervous system. But what would you say, Jen, are like the 3 main physical things that happen whenever where our body is just feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, I just want to back up for 1 second. So when she's talking about nervous system overload, while we're talking about the physical, emotional and spiritual also cause nervous system
Oh,
overload.
for sure. Yeah.
We're carrying old wounds, we're carrying suppressed emotions. So that, our body, soul, spirit really expresses itself, if you will, via the nervous system, right? That's kind of, it directs our activity. And so that's just kind of where the the combination of those show up
Yeah.
and in the function of our nervous system.
And that's why we talk about it a lot because it
Right.
it that really does go back to that, and all of these 3 things affects that,
Right.
and that's why we see so many of these physical symptoms
Right.
is from our nervous system being kind of turned on for too long over a period of time.
Right. So the physical. So when your nervous system feels unsafe, everything looks like too much. So you're like, oh, dinner. What am I even going to do? I don't even know I don't even meal planning. Forget that. That's out the window. I have to do laundry. Oh, wait a minute. I can the to-do list is just nothing seems doable.
Yeah.
So, couple things. When we are in that overwhelm and stress, we are using minerals very, very quickly. And so we need to replace them. So, one of the main things, and we've talked about this, so much is sodium. So low sodium will look like you can't handle stress, right?
Mhm.
It looks like craving sweets because you want to keep going. It's like fire on, it's paper on the fire, right? It's a quick
Yeah.
press the gas pedal, let's get going sort of thing. So sodium can be super important. Um, and then to match, obviously, sodium is potassium. So those always need to be in balance. So sodium's the gas pedal, potassium's the brake. And you need those in working together. Um, Magnesium, low magnesium could look like tension, irritability, tossing and turning when you sleep.
Yeah.
Um,
You can't calm down
right,
very well. Yeah.
can't calm
Your
down.
body can't.
Right. So, what happens when you're blowing through these minerals, and we see this often, by the way,
Oh,
on
yeah.
hair
Oh, yeah.
analysis. Women who are so there's 3 stages of stress, right? Stage 1 is the fight or flight, and that's where we initially react to the stress. All of our stress hormones go up, and so then there's stage 2. So cortisol, which most people are familiar with, now decreases, and our other stress hormone stays normal. And then the last stage, which is the exhaustion phase, is both those hormones come down, and that's because we've ran out of minerals, right? There's nothing um, to support those hormones. So minerals are first and foremost. Um, then your blood sugar. I would probably put these together as far as what
Yeah.
needs to be done first. These are
Yeah.
probably
They go hand in hand.
yeah, it's probably an and, not an or. So blood sugar instability, we have to make sure that fuel pump is working and fed, right? Because our stress response really um, is dependent on it. And when our blood sugar is low, that stress response is then taxed, right? Because the body's like, look, I don't have any glucose in case there's a saber-toothed tiger. And so it stimulates that stress response to release cortisol, which stimulates the liver to release stored glucose so that we have blood glucose. So we don't want to stress that system. It's already stressed.
Right.
So blood sugar, so long gaps between meals, under eating, crashes. So you're eating something high sugar or maybe carbs by itself. So, your blood sugar goes high and then it'll crash. And that can look like anxiety, overwhelm, emotional volatility, or being over caffeinated. That's another one I just want, that can
Yeah.
also look like anxiety, overwhelm, emotional volatility. So make sure you're eating when you're drinking caffeine. And then lastly, hormones and inflammation. This ties back to circadian rhythm. So light, getting enough sleep, regulating our cortisol. It's really, really important for our hormones, for the inflammatory process, for neurotransmitters that we're getting first morning light and then blocking that blue light at night because it can be super inflammatory. Um, that blue light, even while we're sitting under these, I was just telling Kari, my husband changed the light bulbs and it's like neon blue. Have to get the old Edison bulbs. But anyway, those things do stress the physical system. And so these are kind of the 3 that we kind of talked about that are your mainstays that you have to do to support the overwhelm.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, we've talked about these a lot. There's tons of if you're new here, go back and look in season 3 especially. We have a lot of episodes, on we just talk about this a lot because it's so important.
Right.
And, a lot of times when your body is so just dysregulated and overwhelmed because of all these things, you can't really move on to anything else, right? You have to do these things first, and that's why we talk about them all the time.
Right.
Like, I mean, I really wasn't focusing on any of these things when I was kept trying and trying to just, like, heal my gut, and it's minerals were huge for me. I was all 4 low, which is what Jen talked about was like the last stage of burnout
Exhaustion.
or
Yes.
stress or whatever. So, I mean, like, my body was like, "Yeah, I'm kinda tapped out," and so that was huge for me, and I think that's why we talk about minerals so much because they are the drivers of all of these things and help your body to really do what it needs to do and heal and be less overwhelmed, more calm. Um, but I also just wanted to mention next, we talked about the physical side. The mental side is huge with this. I mean, I just I'm a person that has a lot of thoughts. Like I feel like I used to have a lot more thoughts though. Praise the Lord. Like I feel like it's better now. Thank goodness. But I'm a thinker because I'm a doer. So I'm always kind of was always thinking about, well, what do I need to be doing? And what about this, that? So I definitely have struggled with mental overwhelm for sure. And I mean, still do, right? But I think that sometimes we do it to ourselves, right? There's so many decisions that we need to make. We're just intaking so much information. This is the one that I see really affect people that typically are coming to us because they've researched everything because they're trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And it's just a day and age that we have so much information at our fingertips. There's no margin in our day.
Mm,
Um, that's
preach.
huge. Like,
Yes.
yes, if you don't have any downtime with nothing coming in, how do you expect some of those thoughts to dissipate, right? They're just gonna keep getting added to. Um, and so I think just as Jen was saying at the beginning, as women, there can be a lot of pressure to hold everything together. But again, we have to remember we're not anybody's savior, right? We do have things that we need to do. However, I think that's something that we take on that we shouldn't, right? It's an identity. We'll talk about that in the next episode. It's an identity that we take on, and we then, of course, live from that. So mental overwhelm, I just think is rampant, and that again feeds into the physical. But what feeds into the mental is a lot of times the spiritual, right? I know I've seen that, right? We're
Yeah. I
gonna
mean,
talk more in depth about that in the next episode, but we wanted to introduce you to you here.
yeah, for sure. There was a monk that wrote this. He spent 40 days in the desert and he talked about basically like the enemy works on the plane of our thoughts. And
Yeah,
so, the spiritual and the cognitive, the mind, I guess you would say, are very much linked. And
yeah.
so that's why we have to guard our thoughts. We have to guard our hearts
Mhm.
because they're constantly our brain and our heart are constantly communicating. And so we have to guard what's coming in through our eyes, our ears, Kari did mention too much information, reading too many articles, podcasts,
Yeah,
rather just than the quiet or worship music, maybe. Maybe not even worship music. Maybe it's just the quiet.
right. Yeah,
As she mentioned too, the no margin, or my big thing is the perfectionism. Like everything's got to be perfect, right? Um, where done is better than perfect. And then, this is another, I think, personal one for me is the pressure of just holding it all together. Like, okay, like it's got to look good. And I had a friend that said, I don't want it to just look good. I want it to be good.
be good.
Right. Which I so related to, which I agree. It's like we all, I think, sometimes put up this facade of everything's good. We got this together. Like, right. We can handle this. We got this. When internally we're overwhelmed, we're overloaded, we're exhausted. So yeah, this is a good segue into, right, we have to renew our mind every day, because our mind is a big, big piece of the equation, which leads us to the spiritual side because, again, the enemy is it, you'll have this thought, this intrusive thought. Sometimes you're like, where did that come from? Right.
Yeah,
And it's recognizing those thoughts and that those thoughts are not of the good spirit and that, we need to reject that thought and replace it with God's truth.
yeah. But, that's active. And
Right.
sometimes it's like, I'm sure you might feel like that right now. I can't do anything else.
Right.
Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I just
Yes.
can't even think about, like, how am I supposed to take thoughts captive all day, you know? I mean, I get it. I
True.
mean,
That's true. That's true.
and so discern, pray about where do you need to start in this? If you feel that overwhelmed, you need to start with the physical. That is my thought, because I just feel like if our body is constantly in this just overwhelmed state, we can't think straight.
Yeah,
Like,
you
because
can't.
our nervous system is keeping us not in our thinking brain, right? We're in our survival brain. So we're
You
not going to be
can't.
thinking straight anyway.
Yeah, you can't pray your way out of low blood sugar.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And so that's why we talk about all three of these all the time, because they are so integrated.
Right.
Definitely. But, as I mentioned, overwhelm a lot of times spiritually, it comes from spirit. What am I trying to say? Overwhelm in the body and the mind come from overwhelm in the spirit, because of, we feel like we need to be our own source. Like, we need to figure things out. We need to make things happen. A lot of times, what I've realized is the root of it is self-protection. Like,
Yes.
we're trying to protect ourselves to feel safe for X, Y, and Z reason. That's, and we will talk about that more in the next episode. Um, what about being alone or unsupported? I mean, maybe you really are not supported that much in your house, right? I mean, I don't know. There's so many different things that could be your reality. However, we have to remember that God is with us and He is going to do it for us, right? We don't actually have to do anything but stay in step with Him. But then we might know that, but then our heart tells us otherwise, right? So it could be a combination of that. And it really is just forgetting who God is and who we are in Him, right? Forgetting our identity, forgetting what He's asked us to do, to stay in step with Him, to renew our minds, to just lean on His truth and His word. Um,
And to lean into the, at times, you know, hurt maybe, right?
yeah,
There's something that you're kind of putting to the side and you're just going on with day-to-day life, something that happened. Maybe it was, over the holidays, a family member said something, or maybe it's from long ago. And that underlying hurt or emotion that you're not processing, plus the day to day can lead to the overwhelm. And so
yeah,
when you have the space and the capacity and the little bit of the downtime, you can start to slowly maybe address some of that, because it's just like, if you have a little scrape on your arm or you have a burn on your arm, right? And you just brush it, right? That little scrape, ooh, it's exposed, right? And that little scrape and it, right? It
hmm,
causes a lot of pain, right? Where if the skin is healed and, there's nothing on the outside, you brush it with something and it doesn't react. You don't react. It's the same concept. Like, those underlying things over time add up. And we just need to slowly within our window of tolerance, address some of that.
yeah. Our heart in this is that we don't want you to continue to live like this, because that's not God's plan for you. This
Mm-mm.
is the enemy wants to keep us overwhelmed in our physical, in our mental, in our spiritual, all the things. He wants to keep us overwhelmed, distracted, feeling like we're alone, feeling just all of these things that are not true. And so we really just wanted to start this conversation and just help you to see what he's shown us too. Gosh, we're walking through this, right?
Yes.
Um, definitely. I think that, he just continues to show me just how much the spiritual side affects everything else. Like, that's really where everything flows from. Because that's what we operate out of. Our identity, the way that we see God, right? The way who he says we are. Um, if that's flawed, if that's off, then everything else is going to flow from that. So, we hope that you got something out of this conversation. Whether it's just realizing how overwhelmed you are. Sometimes that's where it needs to start, right? Maybe you didn't realize how overwhelmed you were until we started talking about it. Um, just know that God, you did not listen to this podcast by accident. Um, and I just encourage you to pray about, what he's asking you to do, whether that's go eat some protein or go add some minerals to your water. I mean, really, it sometimes it needs to start there. If that's what he's telling you to go do, then go do it, right? Um, but we love this conversation. We love having these conversations with you. Again, our heart is to point you to him, because he's the one that's going to do the work. He's the only one that can heal us, and show us what healing looks like to us. So come back for the next episode. We're really excited. We're going to be digging more into the spiritual side. We're going to start with that one because it's the most important, right? So come back for episode 2 of season 4, and we will see you on that one.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.